America! JOC here with your Ranting Politics headline updates, where we are diving into today's most explosive political stories that you need to know about. Coming up, a dramatic plane crash at a Pennsylvania retirement home sends shockwaves through the community. Then, an unlikely alliance forms on Capitol Hill as AOC teams up with a Florida Republican to take on credit card companies. Breaking overnight, shots fired near the White House as Secret Service confronts an armed man. Plus, alarming new warnings about China's growing influence in America's backyard. Is the Caribbean becoming a Chinese lake? We'll dive into President Trump's economic policies and the market's rocky response, check out some truly bizarre protests at a New York City school meeting, and uncover some serious questions about Joe Biden's use of auto pen signatures during his presidency. Stick around for all this and more in your daily dose of unfiltered news and common sense commentary. This is Ranting Politics Headline Updates. A dramatic scene unfolded Sunday afternoon in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, when a small aircraft crashed into the parking lot of the Brethren Village retirement community. The Beechcraft A-36TC, carrying 5 people, erupted into a fiery inferno shortly after takeoff from nearby Lancaster Airport. The incident began when the pilot reported an open door immediately after departure. Air traffic control audio reveals the concerning moments as the pilot struggled to communicate through the wind noise caused by the unsecured hatch, ultimately requesting an immediate return to the airport. But the aircraft never made it back. Instead, it came down just 2 streets from the airport, triggering a massive fireball that engulfed both the plane and multiple parked vehicles. Emergency responders rushed to the scene as thick black smoke billowed into the air, with several burn victims reported among those involved. This crash adds to what's already been a particularly turbulent year for aviation safety. Just 2 months ago, 67 people lost their lives when American Airlines Flight 5342 collided with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter at Reagan National Airport. That tragic incident claimed the lives of passengers, crew, and military personnel, including members of the U.S. figure skating team who were returning from national championships. And in February, we saw another fatal collision at Arizona's Macarena Airport, where 2 planes struck each other midair, resulting in 2 deaths. The Federal Aviation Administration has launched a full investigation into this latest incident, as investigators work to determine exactly what caused this aircraft to go down so close to its point of departure. Sources for this story include reporting from the Daily Mail and local emergency services. We'll continue to monitor this developing situation and bring you updates as more information becomes available. In a surprising display of bipartisan cooperation, 2 millennial congresswomen from opposite sides of the aisle have joined forces to tackle soaring credit card interest rates. Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Paulina unveiled legislation Friday that would cap credit card interest rates at 10% nationwide, following a similar proposal previously pitched by President Trump on the campaign trail. Currently, Americans are facing an average credit card interest rate of nearly 29%, a stark increase from pre-pandemic levels of around 15%. Luna, the Florida Republican, emphasized that these rates are placing an unbearable burden on working-class Americans, trapping many in what she called an almost insurmountable amount of debt. The proposal has already drawn significant pushback from the banking industry. The American Bankers Association, along with 52 state banking groups, warned that such a dramatic reduction in interest rates could lead to millions of Americans losing access to credit entirely. They pointed to similar policies in Oregon and Chile, where studies suggested that access to credit significantly decreased after rate caps were implemented. Critics in the economics and finance sectors have also raised red flags. Experts from New York University and Northwestern University cautioned that while well-intentioned, a 10% cap would likely result in credit rationing, particularly affecting low-income borrowers who might be cut off from credit access altogether. The timing of this legislation is particularly interesting, as it mirrors President Trump's campaign promise from last September, when he proposed a temporary 10% cap on credit card interest rates. However, despite the high-profile backing and bipartisan support, the bill currently faces uncertain prospects in Congress, with no clear timeline for consideration in either chamber. with data from Forbes showing current rates hovering close to 29%, and the Federal Reserve's own records indicating that credit card interest rates have never dipped as low as 10% in recorded history, this proposal represents one of the most ambitious attempts at credit industry reform in recent memory. In a concerning security incident near the White House, Secret Service agents were forced to engage an armed individual just after midnight on Sunday. The confrontation occurred at the intersection of 17th and G Streets, merely 1 block away from the West Wing. 27-year-old Andrew Dawson from Indiana was identified as the subject who had traveled to Washington, D.C., carrying both a knife and a firearm. Local police had already alerted the Secret Service about Dawson, describing him as potentially suicidal before the incident unfolded. Federal agents initially spotted Dawson's vehicle parked near the Eisenhower Executive Office building. The situation escalated when Dawson proceeded north toward Pennsylvania Avenue, where he encountered Secret Service agents. During the confrontation, agents discharged their weapons, striking Dawson, who was subsequently transported to a local hospital. President Trump was not at risk during the incident, as he was staying at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida at the time. The D.C. Metropolitan Police's Internal Affairs Division has taken charge of investigating the shooting, while no Secret Service personnel were injured during the encounter. This marks another serious security incident near the White House, reminiscent of a similar situation during Trump's first term in August 2020, when agents shot a 51-year-old suspect who had fired shots toward the White House and charged at security personnel. During that incident, Trump was briefly evacuated from a press briefing before returning to continue his remarks. Authorities have not yet disclosed any potential motives behind Dawson's actions, though the preliminary alert about his mental state suggests this may have been a crisis situation rather than a directed threat. Let's turn our attention to a concerning shift in regional influence that's been steadily growing in America's backyard. China has dramatically increased its economic and diplomatic presence across the Caribbean, with trade volumes skyrocketing from just $1 billion in 2002 to over $8 billion by 2019. These aren't just casual investments. Like, we're talking about strategic assets like a $3 billion deep water port in the Bahamas, mere miles from U.S. shores, and major infrastructure projects spanning multiple island nations. 10 Caribbean countries have already signed on to Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative, including critical regional players like Cuba, Jamaica, and the Dominican Republic. What's particularly noteworthy is how China has methodically expanded its influence through what appears to be purely commercial ventures, while simultaneously deepening military and police relationships throughout the region. The timing of this expansion hasn't gone unnoticed, especially as the Trump administration has reduced USAID presence in the region. Foreign policy experts are now warning that China's ultimate goal may be to effectively turn the Caribbean Sea into what they're calling a Chinese lake, a strategic move that would have stunned President Monroe, whose doctrine specifically aimed to prevent foreign powers from establishing such influence in the Americas. Perhaps most concerning are the developments around the Panama Canal, where Chinese-affiliated companies have gained significant operational control of key ports. While President Trump has declared his intention to restore American control over the canal, the reality is that China's influence extends far beyond just commercial shipping rights. We're also seeing a troubling pattern where Chinese presence correlates with increased irregular migration toward U.S. borders, with some experts suggesting Beijing views mass migration as a way to tie down American resources. Border encounters with Chinese nationals have increased more than tenfold in recent years, from under 2,000 to over 24,000 annually. This strategic encroachment represents a direct challenge to traditional U.S. influence in a region that's historically been considered America's sphere of influence. Some analysts warn that without a comprehensive response, China's growing presence could significantly impact U.S. security and economic interests in what has long been considered our nation's backyard. Stay with us as we take a quick break to hear from our lead sponsor, whose support helps make this show possible.
Hey, you brilliant inventors and creators. Have you crafted a product that's ready to break out from the digital world and hit the physical shelves? Imagine your creation sitting proudly in stores like Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, where 90% of purchases still happen. Well, it's time to turn that vision into reality with Product Fury. At Product Fury, we specialize in bridging the gap between online innovation and retail giants. In fact, we have secured millions of dollars of royalty deals for dozens of products at big box retail stores. Whether you're selling gadgets, home goods, or anything innovative, we're here to amplify your reach. Don't keep your product confined to the web. Visit www.productfury.ai today to submit your information for a free product evaluation. Let's get your products out of the internet cloud and into customer carts. Remember, that's productfury.ai. Make the leap from clicks to bricks and see your product thrive in the bustling aisles of major retailers. It's your time to shine on the big stage. Visit us now.
President Trump's recent appearance on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures has brought renewed attention to growing economic concerns. The markets have shown significant volatility, with the S&P 500 experiencing its worst trading day of the year, plunging 1.8%, while the NASDAQ took an even steeper dive of 2.6%. The Dow Jones hasn't fared much better, with cumulative losses exceeding 1,600 points since mid-February. When pressed by Maria Bartiromo about the lack of clarity surrounding his tariff policies and their potential impact on business planning, Trump dismissed these concerns as mere soundbites. He maintained his stance that America has been taken advantage of by global trading partners, suggesting that tariffs might actually increase rather than decrease, despite market jitters. The president acknowledged that we're entering what he called a period of transition, arguing that bringing wealth back to America requires some short-term disruption. In a striking comparison, Trump referenced China's 100-year perspective versus America's quarter-by-quarter mentality, suggesting that immediate market reactions shouldn't dictate long-term economic strategy. Commerce Secretary Harry Lutnick has jumped to defend the administration's approach, pointing to $1.3 trillion in new domestic investments as evidence of success. However, critics, including some prominent Republicans, have expressed concern about the potential for Trump's policies to trigger a recession. The administration's recent decision to exempt Canadian and Mexican goods from the 25% tariffs until April has provided temporary relief, but uncertainty remains about long-term policy direction. This economic tension comes at a critical time, with egg prices hitting $4.95 a carton and broader inflation concerns persisting despite campaign promises to bring down costs immediately. The president's America First economic policies continue to generate intense debate about their long-term impact on U.S. economic stability and global trade relationships. In a rather theatrical display at Manhattan's Community Education Council meeting, about 100 trans rights activists brought an unexpected twist to local education politics. The monthly gathering turned into quite the spectacle when protesters launched into a synchronized, albeit slightly offbeat performance of the Macarena during public comments supporting female athletes. The disruption came as a direct response to Resolution 248, which calls for a review of current policies allowing students to compete based on their gender identity. When Speaker Joe Vitale took the podium to advocate for biological female athletes, the assembled group rose in unison, performing their silent dance protest while she attempted to continue her remarks. Leading these increasingly disruptive demonstrations is Elena Daniels, a trans teacher who runs the Transformative Schools after-school program. The group has made its presence felt at nearly every council meeting for the past year, complete with pre-rally gatherings and coordinated dress codes matching the trans flag colors. Council Vice President Leonard Silverman has expressed frustration, noting that these persistent demonstrations are preventing the board from addressing other crucial educational matters. Despite the DOE's firm stance on maintaining current policies, the protests continue, effectively drowning out discussions about academics and enrollment challenges. The meeting reached an anticlimactic conclusion when the council lost quorum before voting on two pending resolutions, one supporting the DOE's current sports policy and another opposing President Trump's executive order on K-12 education. The protesters' tactics have left many questioning whether this form of activism is helping or hindering productive dialogue on these sensitive issues. My friends, if you're enjoying the insights and the independent ethos we're dishing out here at Ranting Politics, don't be a stranger. Jump into the lively conversation on X. Give us a follow at Ranting RP, or check us out at rantingpolitics.com, or stop over to our all-new YouTube channel. We're always buzzing about the next big headline and love to see your takes on the fiasco that is politics. And while you've got that phone handy, come on, I know it's in your reach, Do us a solid and tap that like and follow button on your podcast feed. Your support doesn't just boost our reach, it keeps real independent thought in the game against those giant media machines. We're also on all your favorite podcast platforms, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify and now Alexa. Hit that subscribe button for regular updates chock full of unfiltered analysis and all the news that's fit to rant about. A bombshell report from the Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project has revealed that dozens of executive orders during former President Biden's term were signed using identical AutoPen signatures, igniting fresh controversy about his cognitive capacity during his presidency. After analyzing documents throughout Biden's term, investigators found a conspicuously consistent signature pattern on official documents, differing only on his letter announcing withdrawal from the 2024 race. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey has seized on these findings, demanding a Department of Justice investigation into whether Biden's cognitive state allowed unelected staff to push through policies without his full awareness or approval. Bailey argues that if true, these executive orders and other actions could be constitutionally void. While AutoPen usage isn't new in presidential administrations, dating back to Harry Truman, the identical nature of Biden's signatures has raised eyebrows. This revelation comes against the backdrop of Biden's increasingly visible struggles during his final months in office, including that pivotal debate performance against Trump that preceded his withdrawal from the 2024 race. Speaker Mike Johnson has added fuel to the fire, citing a private conversation where Biden allegedly forgot about executive action he'd taken on natural gas. These claims, combined with the AutoPen revelations, have intensified scrutiny over who truly held the reins of power during Biden's presidency. The former president's team has yet to respond to requests for comment on these allegations. Critics are now demanding answers about the oversight processes in place and who exactly controlled the AutoPen during Biden's term. While the Justice Department previously declared AutoPen use constitutional under George W. Bush's administration, these latest discoveries may force a fresh examination of this practice in our digital age. And that wraps up today's headline rundown on Ranting Politics. We've covered everything from that fiery plane crash in Pennsylvania to the unprecedented AOC Luna alliance on credit card reform. We dove into growing Chinese influence in the Caribbean, Trump's latest economic challenges, and that explosive AutoPen controversy from the Biden administration. For your daily dose of unfiltered political analysis and breaking news coverage, make sure to follow us on X at RantingRP. You can also catch full episodes on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to visit rantingpolitics.com for exclusive content and in-depth coverage of the stories that matter most to you. This is JOC signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics headline updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.
Is your home's landscaping, exterior style, or outdoor space ready for a transformation? Whether you're lakeside or curbside, make the most of your property with Garden and Grow Design, your premier digital landscape designers. At Garden and Grow Design, we specialise in increasing the value and beauty of your home by crafting elegant outdoor living spaces. Our experienced and creative designers use cutting-edge 3D technology to blend seasonal colours, perennial blooms and stylish hardscapes into your ideal garden. And the best part? It's all designed for minimal maintenance. Don't just imagine your perfect yard. See it first with our innovative digital designs. Whether it's a serene waterfront retreat or a chic patio for entertaining, we bring your outdoor dreams to life. Ready to grow? Visit www.gardenandgrowdesign.com to start your journey toward a breathtaking landscape today. Garden and Grow Design, cultivate beauty, cultivate life.